the last country I served in was Guyana, and I've heard now. So when I served there in the whole West Indies, there was no sister missionaries when I was there, and I've heard in 2009 local sister missionaries have started to serve, and then in 2011 some North American sisters have gone down and have served in the mission. But as of today, there are still no missionaries in the country of Guyana. Guyana's a little rough. It's a little rough of a town. I was stabbed in Guyana. Had to go to the hospital. I have this stitch right here, or scar from stitches. One of the good things about the West Indies, and in particular Guyana, is that you tend to ignore a lot of the downsides to Guyana. You ignore the crime, you ignore the smell, you ignore the pollution, mainly because the people are amazing. The people are going to be the best people that you'll ever meet in all of the West Indies, in each of the countries, Barbados and Trinidad and Guyana, that I've ever seen. They're humble. They laugh at themselves. They laugh at others. There's no, I don't know if I've ever really offended anybody down there. I don't think they get offended. They're just such amazing people, and because the people are amazing and the food is amazing, then it's really hard to. I mean, it's really easy to ignore all the rough edges that the country has. So the country is very, very musical. There'd be speakers that would align the streets, and you'd walk down and you'd hear calypso music, you'd hear Indian Hindi music, you would hear Celine Dion, you'd hear all sorts of stuff going down the street, and they would even have these trucks that they would pile speakers in the truck and have a DJ there, and he'd drive in and out of towns, and people would follow and dance along. It almost looked like a parade, but it's just a random musical like ice cream truck or whatever, and people would just dance along but not give ice cream out. But when I was there, and probably the same now, they still use cart and horse, and they'd have a horse, and you'd have this long wagon that would hold wood, and we'd hitch rides with those guys all the time. And they have these buses that you'd take, and that were like cabs. Some of them would just be minivans, and you'd be surprised to see how many people you can fit in a minivan. And when they're trying to get their fare, trying to get as much money as they can, they'll pack some people in there. There's so much that they'll actually keep the sliding door open, and the guy collecting the money, so you have a driver and you have a guy that collects the money, and he'll hold on to the handlebar and hold on to something else and kind of support more people so they don't fall out, which I always thought was awesome. There was while I was down there, they appointed a female, white female president, and I'd say 99.99% of the people in the West Indies are either African American descent or East Indian, and probably a few other countries, but no, very few white people. I think I tracked it into one white person, a white couple from England, like my whole mission, and they appointed a white president. That caused a lot of issues in the mission and in Guyana. And everybody went on strike, and the hospital, including the hospital, went on strike, and everybody vacated the hospital and just left patients lying in bed, and no one was there to take care of the patients. So they asked the missionaries to come in as scabs, if you will, to help move patients around, help care for patients. And funny story, we were all standing around, and the hospital director was assigning different people to different things. He says, "Anybody have any experience in laundry facilities?" And they were like, "Oh, I can do that." "What about in cooking?" "Oh, we'll go help in the kitchen." And he says, "What about in the theater? Anybody have any theater experience?" Well, before my mission, I had managed a movie theater for 3 years. So I said, "Yeah, I have theater experience." It's weird that they would have a theater there. And so me and my companion go up there, and they say, "Okay, start scrubbing in right here." And we're like, "Scrubbing in for a theater? For a movie theater? What are you talking about?" And he says, "No, for the surgical theater," and which is what they called where you have surgery, and which I guess I didn't know, and I found later I'm not the only one that didn't know that, but I guess that's a common term even here in the U.S. that the surgery room is the surgical theater. So they said, "Well, you're here anyway, so they taught me how to be like a scrub nurse. They showed me the different things, and I had to scrub in for the doctors and hand them scalpel and scissors and everything. And I remember seeing a couple surgeries. We saw a C-section, and I mean, my companion, we saw some interesting stuff. But we transported patients all over the hospital, and that was an experience. It was fun. It was interesting.